Well, good morning.
Good morning, David.
It is nice to see you. We met each other through a business call. I love LinkedIn. I've met so many great people there. I think that's how we connected. Is that correct?
Yep.
And what interested me about you, your business is fascinating. We'll talk about that a little bit. But the idea that you pretty much packed up everything, got into an RV, and are being a vagabond touring the country, yet you're still doing business. So in the world we live in now, old constraints of how people used to have their job are gone, and we can do amazing things. So share with our audience today what it is that led you to where you are now, what you've learned along the way, and then maybe we'll share a secret jewel with them before we end the show today.
Sounds like a plan. So I'll try to make a long story short, but I was born in Auburn, New York, a small town in upstate New York on the Finger Lakes. My father's a construction worker and my mother's a stay-at-home mom. And I grew up in just a very small town feel. Really didn't know what else was out of my bubble, right? And I was actually a police officer for a short period of time. It's what I wanted to do for most of my life. And then come to find out, it's just wasn't right for me. The world is obviously changing, exponentially for police officers. So I appreciate everyone that still does this job, but just wasn't right for me. So I started thinking, what am I going to do? What are my talents? What should I be doing for a career? And I started really thinking about, I enjoy people, I enjoy talking, I enjoy relationships. And I started thinking I really need to get into sales. So, long story short, I met a friend, a family friend, for a drink, and we were like, "Hey, I really am thinking about getting into sales," and he is actually an AFLAC, and he's like, let's talk about it. So we talked about it for a while. I loved what he was saying, and one of the things he said about AFLAC was you can go anywhere you want with it. I was like, okay, interesting. He's like, we're in all 50 states. You can kind of choose where you want to be. I was like, well, I just left the police. I'm still in my small town. I really don't know what else is out there. And I found my cousin was living in Charleston, South Carolina, and I had gone there for my 21st birthday, not too long before this, and I loved it. And I was like, hey man, I think I'm moving to Charlotte, so I'll live kind of close to you because I've always loved Charlotte. And he's like, well, my roommate just moved out. Why don't you move in with me?
Ah,
Uh,
the
I was like,
universe is calling.
yeah, exactly. I was like, man, you know what? I will. All right, let's do it. And ended up calling someone at AFLAC down in Charleston. Had an interview over the phone and got the job and started heading my way down there about in 2 weeks. A lot of the things that I'm going to talk about I've done in two weeks is apparently the sweet time. I don't really know why, but 2 weeks from when I decided to move, I moved to Charleston, and I've been there for about 7 years. And while I was there, I worked for AFLAC for 6 years, and then I worked in a brokerage as the VP of Health and Life. And insurance was kind of just the path. That was what I was going to do. Well, about about 7 years in, actually, but I've been there about 8 years. But in 7 years, I met someone at ERC Today, which is the business I work for today. And I just started out as a partner. He's like, hey, man, I know you're in the insurance business. You really need to talk to your clients about this program. And for anyone who doesn't know what the ERC program is, it's the Employee Retention Credit. And what it does is it really helps businesses get government funding through the CARES Act. So it was a really nice way to help my current clients in the insurance world. Be like, hey guys, have you looked into the ERC? Have you filed for it to see if you qualify? And started just getting some clients in that way. And then after time, I got really close with the guy that I met. His name is John Gentile. He's the owner of one of the owners, sorry, of ERC Today. And I got really close with him. I started doing trips and meeting him in Florida, and just got really close. And one day I was kind of frustrated, and I gave him a call in the insurance world, and I'm like, I'm so sick of this business. I'm sick of, dealing with people, not wanting to move forward, and things were just I wasn't happy where I was at that time. And he was like, hey man, well, why don't you come work for me? And I was like, maybe I will. What are we talking? And he started telling me, and he's like, he asked me, he's like, what would it take for you to leave? Like, how much money would it take? And I won't use numbers, but I said a number, and he's like, okay. And he comes back with more money than I asked. So he even took my number, added to it, and said, hey, listen, here's an offer. And I was like, man, I really can't refuse it. So I got involved in the ERC Today. And I was in Charleston, and they're in North Carolina. So this was my first entry to working remote. And I'll tell you, my whole entire life working in insurance, I never thought I'd work remote, even though it's kind of right. You're going out and you're meeting different people around the town and things like that. But I never thought that I would actually be able to work from my home. And to be honest with you, I would have thought I would have been distracted too much. I would never get anything done. But come to find out, I love working remote, and it's been amazing for me. So this is all leading to the big story of how did I get here? Why am I traveling? What's
Yeah.
kind of going on? Well, I had this remote job. I'm working, out of my home, and I'm thinking to myself, I want to do something big. I want to do something, fun and enjoyable. And actually, I was looking at my dog. He's right here. He's a beautiful Australian Shepherd. Honestly, and I mean, everyone says they have the cutest dog, right?
Yeah.
He's just a very handsome, beautiful dog. And I was looking at him, and I was thinking, man, I really think I need to breed you. I got to find a way to breed you. And I was thinking, I was like, "Why? How do I breed him? How can I actually make money doing this? Does it make sense to do this? Is it good for the dog?" All these questions are kind of coming through my mind. And at one point, I was thinking to myself, well, what if I got an RV, I traveled around the country, and in every state, I bred this dog in every state. And that was my thought, right? Like, well, what could this actually be? I call my breeder and I'm asking her, like, hey, is this even possible? She's like, no, you can't do that, and that's not something I would ever sign off on. I was like, listen, I have no idea about how this stuff works. I'm not
You're
trying
just
to do
looking for information. Just looking for information.
And he's just a beautiful dog. I'm like, I feel like he needs to be bred at least once. So anyway, while I'm looking for this information, I hear this. I'm like, damn, that sucks. But I'm already looking at RVs online, right? You get that idea. You hear an RV, and you're like, I got to look at what the pricing is. Well, come to find out, the price for me to own the RV was cheaper than having a roommate in Charleston. Okay, so the cost was it just made sense. So all this time while I'm thinking, man, an RV would sound really cool, and I could go do this trip. And the name of the show was going to be, no one take this in case I want to do this later, but it's called Chasing Tail. And the idea, right? So Chasing Tail. And I thought that would be just a great show, fun way to do it. But anyway, find out I can't. And then I'm looking at these RVs, the price makes sense. And I was like, man, you know what? I think I'm just going to do it. Forget about the breeding. I think I'm going to buy this RV. I'm still going to travel every state.
Did you bring your dog with you?
Yes. He's right here. Real quick. Come here,
He's a silent partner?
So my name is Ryan, and this is Reynolds. He's a silent partner. Come on.
R&R. It's like a company. Huh?
R.
Well, hello.
Absolutely beautiful, amazing dog. He's going back down. But yeah, and I just thought to myself, I think this makes sense. I think that, being able to work remote, I can do this. So how do I do this? So I figured out Starlink, right? So this is obviously a newer invention from Elon Musk, and it allows me to, I put it right on the top of the RV, and it allows me to have internet anywhere. So I have great Wi-Fi. I mean, right now we're doing a video call. I'm in the middle of Colorado, and everything is crystal clear. So
is it satellite, so you don't need to be next to a tower? Is that the beauty of it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. And what they did is Elon started with all the places that didn't have good internet connection and good towers. So you got the Midwest where they have, again, just not that many towers spread out. And he made it very possible because it's satellite, and these are all open areas, right? Utah, Colorado. So it made it very easy. And I got to tell you, anyone that's watching this, if you are traveling, Starlink is a must. It's not a maybe, it is an absolute
must. Is it
must.
about the same price as a normal internet hookup if you're in a land base somewhere?
Relatively, it's about $600 for the equipment itself, and that's $120 a month for the RV package.
So a little more expensive, but it provides you the flex. And of course, economically, your overall package of that, coupled with being able to work and travel, is more affordable. Setting aside, you'd probably pay more for the freedom, but it's actually more affordable. Now, let me ask you this. I hear an early pattern of, for some reason, you wanted to be a police officer. Did you have a police officer in your family or someone that you looked up to and you thought, I would like to be like that guy? Or how did you think of that?
Actually, no. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I actually wanted to join the Marine Corps. My grandfather was in the Army, but I don't think I really got inspiration from that. Not to say that I didn't have inspiration from him and being in the Army, but I think back then I felt like I could save the world. I think a lot of us at one point
you wanted to help people,
could do that, right?
Protect people, help people.
Yep, exactly. And then I just thought, this could be a great outlet for me to do that. And I thought, and I was young, right? I could, tough as nails, right? I just felt like I could do anything. And in that moment,
Catch
That
the
was
bad guys, protect the innocent, like
exactly
Superman, huh? Like super
exactly.
guy. Yeah.
Everyone wants to be Superman, at one point in their life, and that was my Superman. And what happened was I was actually in a snowmobile accident in my sophomore year of high school, where I ended up actually tearing my entire back muscle, my left back muscle, broke both my wrists, and tore my knee, and had surgery on my knee, surgery on my wrist, and I have not had surgery on my back. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that, but it changed my life. Unfortunately, I've been in pain for more than half my life. So every day
Oh,
I'm in pain of some sort, which sucks, but
do you
God bless
just
me.
learn to live with it? It's like there's a low buzz of pain and you just kind of adjust to that's the way that it is.
Yes, it's kind of a combination of the reality of it's nothing I can change at this moment. So
Yeah.
just acceptance. And then also, yeah, it's every day, right? So it's normal to me. It becomes normal after a period of time. I will tell you, like some moments in a day, it's like excruciating pain. It's my ligaments are all
Does
loose
that
or
have to
my
do with the weather or how much stress you've been under, or can you even track what causes that?
I can't really pinpoint it. I think it's a mix of things, activity, whether it be, the stress, whether it be, again, the weather, all these examples are different, variables that
Yeah.
play a part for sure. But just, again, I think the biggest thing is acceptance. I've accepted that it's something I can't change right now. Could I go get surgery? Yes. But is it something I want to do at my age yet? No. So I'm just kind of accepting it. And the reality is I've learned more from that pain than not having that pain, because it has taught me um, resilience. It's taught me fortitude. It's taught me a lot of things of just understanding that life
Do you
isn't so
get so used to it that sometimes when you get busy, you just forget you have it?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And I like to keep busy anyway. My mind works that way anyway. So it kind of helps me not think about it.
And so you had that while you were a police officer or after?
I did. I had it while I was a police officer. So having that heavy belt wasn't great.
No.
But I think, again, it just being, active and moving, I just didn't think about it. I was focused on something else. So you kind of really, you just don't think about it. It's a weird
So
thing.
what I'm hearing is an early pattern here of being able to focus on something other than what we might call an irritant or something that we might call a disability or an obstacle. So in your case, some people might believe their obstacles need to be gone before they're okay. What you're saying is, well, it would be nice if the obstacle could be gone, but if it can't, and I have to live with it, how can I live with it and have a good quality life if this is just the way it is? And I might recommend, if I haven't said before, look up Dr. Joe Dispenza. He had a 5 crushed vertebrae and he healed it through meditation. Now, it's not the purpose of the show to go into that, but it's worth your investigation. Wouldn't it be cool if we have a show in the future and you learned the technique, healed your back without surgery? And I'm very cautious to avoid having someone cut into my body to alter things. My brother had a back problem. He had surgery. It was worse afterwards. He had surgery again. It's still not right. So that indicates to me, you go to these medical professionals, there's no guarantee that when they cut you up, that they're going to actually put you in a place that's better than you were before.
So the funny story about that is when I had my accident, I broke both of them, but I didn't know that they were broken for a while because I was so focused on my back. Come to find out they're broken. And they checked my right wrist and I actually had surgery on it. And as soon as as soon as I got the cast off, they found out that it did not work. And I remember sitting in front of the surgeon, and the surgeon said, okay. And mind you, I'm in high school. I got to take tests. I got to go play with my friends. Like my mind as a high
And you're
schooler
right-handed.
is
You're
different.
right-handed.
I'm right-handed,
Yeah.
exactly. So just this whole focus, I'm like, man, I don't want to go through another 6 weeks of this and deal with this. So I put it off. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be fine. I can still do a lot. I cannot do a regular push-up. I have to do fingertips. I've had to adapt for sure. But it's funny when you're young, you want as least amount of obstacles as possible. So you're willing to deal with certain things to not have to go through those obstacles. Now looking back, I'm like, man, I really wish I got myself fixed back then and didn't have to deal with this. Now, again, would it have worked again? We don't know, right? But
Yeah.
younger, you heal a little bit better. So maybe I'd do something differently
So I
back.
think the real message here is not whether or not you'll have obstacles, not whether or not you might have discomfort, not whether or not you may have something that is part of your life going to maybe forever, maybe for a short period of time. But the question is, what do you learn and how do you move forward properly? And that's the message you're sending. So in the police force, you decide that being Superman is not what you imagined it to be, and you decided to change careers. Did you go right straight to AFLAC, or were there an in-between?
There was a small in between for about 5 months that I worked with my dad. So, he small construction company, 4 people, nothing crazy, but I worked with him every summer for, since I was probably like 13. So spent a lot of years doing that. So it was an easy fallback, at least until I figured out what I wanted to do. But I would say as soon as I left the police, I put my, my gun and the badge on the desk of the chief. I walked out and I thought immediately, what am I going to do? Right. Because this has changed my entire life. And
Yeah.
granted, before I handed it in, I was thinking this stuff too. But as soon as I walked out, I was like, I need a new job, and it's not going to be with my dad, because I know my dad used to tell me every day, he's like, I'm putting you here to work here, so you know what not to do. And it was, and he's one of the hardest working men I've ever met, truthfully. But he taught me that there's an ability to work smarter, not harder, in the world we're in right now. And you should probably go learn that. And that was pretty much his way of teaching me, don't do this, because you're going to be in pain like I am.
So AFLAC is probably a straight commission position, I'm thinking.
Great commission. So I moved from Auburn, New York to Charleston, South Carolina with $1,000 on a 100% commission job, with zero connections, no nothing. I knew my cousin, who was in the Air Force, which was practically on the Air Force base most of the time. So it was definitely a throwing yourselves in the wolf den, kind of situation. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it taught me not to move slowly, but to move very efficiently and just go to work. I
So
think
when you say go to work, did you determine a database or a contact source and then do X number of contacts? You started getting a sense of what the pull-through rate was. You refined your skills, maybe looked at better targets, maybe got better at pull-through. What did that look like?
Yeah, so Joe Calarco is his name, is a good family friend in AFLAC in upstate New York. And when I sat down in front of him, he was really teaching me the beginning of what AFLAC really looks like. He told me this. He said, I need you to go to 30 approaches, not a call, an approach, an in-person approach. 30 approaches for the next 30 days. 30 approaches a day.
Did you say in person? Is that what? Okay. So you knock on a door, or how did you do?
Walk into a business. So
okay.
B2B sales. So you're going into a business, you're trying to introduce yourself, get past the gatekeeper and get to the owner who makes the decision. And he was like, you got to make 30 approaches a day for 30 days. And if you can do that, you'll be set for the rest of your career, because you will understand how much you need to do to get the results.
Did he give you like say a script, or at least an outline?
Yep. So he taught me, he brought me out, I shadowed him, he gave me a script that, we refined it together. So he never really just threw me out and said, good luck. Right. So he took me, he did it. So I got to see what it actually is supposed to look like.
You got a chance to see not everyone says yes and not everyone says no. There's something, maybe there's 10% that say yes. I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are.
Less than that. Probably less than that. The reality of AFLAC is it's a fantastic product. It really truly is. It saved me. I had AFLAC when I got my accident. It helped my family. They paid $0 out of pocket because we met our deductible and maxed out of pocket. So it saved me completely. So I got to live through that, through my experience, and help other people with the same situation. So the thing about it, though, is I hate to say it like this because I don't want it to disrespect AFLAC, but AFLAC is like selling Girl Scout cookies. And the reason I say that is there's some people who love Girl Scout cookies. I love a good Thin Mint. I love Girl Scout cookies. And if you knock on that door, that person at that moment may love those Girl Scout cookies and want them right away, or they're on a diet and they don't want them, or they just really don't want them right now, or they had someone else come in the other day and sell them Girl Scout cookies and they don't want to buy another. So it's kind of like this feeling of you don't need it, but you can use it, and it's a great thing to have. But it's difficult, but I think it's the best thing that I could have started with, because I got to learn that I'm selling a product that people don't need. I have to truly sell this so that people want it.
Or they're not aware of their need.
Say like exactly.
If they're willing to listen, you can show them how what you're offering, we'll call it, is loss mitigation. No, Mr. Johnson, you don't hope you have to collect against this. In fact, I hope you never have to. But when you need to, it's too late to go get it.
Yep, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Yeah, so it's a question of budgeting, right? I could afford to spend whatever per month and have nothing happen, But if something happened and it did this to me, I can't afford that consequence. That's kind of the idea, isn't it?
100%, 100%. And I think the interesting thing about starting with AFLAC, and it's funny, right? Hindsight's 2020, right? Now I'm thinking to myself, I wish I did it only for 2 years, because it was the best stepping stone to get me involved in other things. A lot of times we get caught up in what we're involved in, and we don't look at the other opportunities, outside of that. And like, I can't do this, I can't go on this because I have to worry about my job, or I have to worry about this particular thing.
Well, isn't there a balance? To be successful at anything, you need to have focus. And
100%.
if your focus is too narrow, it's hard to learn what you're doing. But if it's too broad, you get so scattered, you end up getting nothing done. Or you hop from thing to thing to thing to thing and fail at all of them because you don't give the time to have the success. I mean, 30 a day is 30 a day. In fact, that's the magic number. I did cold calling on the phone. We had a room full of people. We dialed 30 a day, offered a business opportunity, and the pull through to booking was about 10%. But only about 30% of that 10% showed up, and only about 10% of that subset actually said they would buy something. And an even smaller subset actually continued paying the monthly payments and didn't drop out.
Yeah, it's crazy when you start really peeling back the onion and understand what the numbers really are.
Yeah.
And but I think that, like you said, you do what you do. You have to stay focused in your career. But what I think was interesting about it is, it's not that I wanted to change careers or change industries. I just wish that I got involved in health insurance earlier, right? Yeah, I was in supplemental health. AFLAC is a supplemental health product. On top of that, there's health insurance. There's a lot more money in health insurance, and there's a lot more benefit to the employer. So
is it because the applications are broader?
Yeah, it's also because AFLAC is great to help with your out-of-pocket expenses, but what if your out-of-pocket expenses are 100 grand because you don't have health insurance? Yes, I'm helping someone over here, but the true help is when you have health insurance and you have AFLAC, so that your out-of-pocket cost that your deductible or max out-of-pocket requires from your health insurance, maybe it's $3,000, and your AFLAC indemnity policy pays $3,000. Now you're paying zero, and you're still not having to pay the $100,000 bill that you got because your max out-of-pocket's $3,000.
It's similar, like let's say with Medicare. You have the 80% Medicare piece. For those that don't know, it'll pay 80% of what your claim of your problem is. And then you got a 20% gap, and there is what we call gap insurance or supplement that covers that 20%. So it brings it down to something, you could say it pays 100%, not really exactly, but it reduces your out-of-pocket cost to something you could probably manage.
Exactly. And the other thing is people, what I also got involved with was individual health insurance. And a lot of people out here do not understand that a majority of people in a certain bracket, I'd say probably under $40,000 a year. This also depends if you have kids and you have a spouse.
Yeah.
Get free health insurance through the government, through the ACA. And I think that one of the most powerful things that I did was I went to the poorer communities. I went to businesses that they weren't making a lot of money, and I was able to get them health insurance for free, and I was still able to get paid on it. It cost them nothing because the government pays me, or the carrier pays me, I should say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same
the
thing.
government pays them, and then you get your commission, shall we say.
Exactly. So I just wish that in my industry, I looked at other opportunities within my industry. I think that was the biggest piece for me. It's not that I should focus on all these different things and get scatterbrained or be the jack of all trades, master of none, but it's that I should have realized in my industry, there are so many things that can compile in that industry that are important for the client. And I think that's what I missed early on, because I was worried about managing people and moving up the ladder of AFLAC, that I didn't think about the health insurance piece. And, again, can people make great careers in AFLAC alone? Absolutely. I just learned in life that there are so many opportunities out there. You don't have to take every opportunity, but not looking at them and really trying to understand what that opportunity is a disservice to yourself. Because
I guess what you're saying is you want to find the balance between income, and income is, let's say, enough to be comfortable, maybe put some savings back, build a long-term life. But if income is the only point, I know some very wealthy people that are very unhappy, and I know some less wealthy people that are very happy. And so this isn't an argument for being wealthy or being poor. That's not what I'm suggesting. but it is a statement for paying attention to your priorities. Because what I heard you say is the reason you helped the less affluent community is the service you provided them, which still made you a living, is probably a little bit of the police officer dream left over in you, right? Where you want to help the innocent people be protected and have a better life. And they're even unaware that to them, free, they could reduce the risk of something that could, I think one of the number one causes of bankruptcy in America today is health problems, uncovered health problems.
It is. and people just don't know about it. And that's the problem is people are unaware. And I think that the reality is we are supposed to be the people to teach other people, whatever that is, whatever the teaching is, whether it be religious teaching, whether it be career teaching, whether it be personal. Our job on this earth, in my opinion, is to teach other people and to bring people up, right? So if you're not doing that and wherever you are, try to find a way to do it. Like even doing this, what you're doing is you are opening so many people's eyes to other people's perception, to other people's successes, failures, all of these things, which in turn is going to help people grow. And I think that's what we're supposed to be doing every day. We should be trying to help.
It's what makes life meaningful. After everything else, if your life isn't meaningful, it's because you're internally looking at yourself to the exclusion of everyone else. The better you can balance, yes, you need to take care of yourself, of course, but the better you can balance caring for yourself and giving back, if that's what you're talking about, we're going to use the term, the happier you'll be. We'll use that term.
100%. And I think we get so lost in our life and in the busyness of our life that we forget to be happy. And I think a lot of times people don't realize what internally it takes for them to be happy. I think, and I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but I think one of the things that, is trying it. I don't want to give away our ending point. Just I guess one of the points, maybe not the ending point, but one of the points is that you have to live in the moment and live in your own life and your own bubble for a little while. This goes back to meditation, to actually understand what it's like to be happy. Don't let other people determine your happiness. And I think a lot of people do that. I've had the blessing of having very little shame. I have shame in the bad things that I do, but I don't have shame in the good things that I do that people just don't like, if that makes sense, right? I have total shame in the bad things that I do. And honestly, I think the reason I have that shame is my relationship with God. And I'm not going to go crazy into religion here, but my shame is involved in my religious beliefs, is that I know better. I know what I should be doing. But as far as the things that don't hurt people and the things that are not deemed bad, I think people need to stop having so much shame. Have fun. Do what you want to do. As long as you're helping people happy and you're not hurting anyone, don't let other people determine your happiness. Everyone lets everyone else determine their happiness, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I think it's a question of becoming clear. So paying attention to what's going on, pay attention to what you're feeling, ask yourself, well, what is that? What is that? Maybe get some external input, conversation with friends, depending how severe that feeling is, maybe with a professional person that kind of help you find your way out. And then once you're clear on why you feel the way you do, now you have an opportunity to do something about it, which might feel a bit uncomfortable. Is that, you could stay unhappy and be comfortable with that, but where do you go next? So you stayed with AFLAC a long time. Looking back, it would have been nice to have stayed there less because what you went on to was more meaningful. And then you passed from that. Maybe you still have that going on in the background. You passed from that to what you're currently doing. We'll call it your primary focus. And that primary focus is probably it has a timeline of, let's say, 12 to 18 months when that program won't exist. So as that program winds down, when you look forward, do you already have a plan, or will you know what it is when it comes there?
So I do. I have business partners. We're working on something pretty large right now that should carry us into the foreseeable future. But also another thing that I'm working on is really understanding the AI technology that we're really seeing right now.
Artificial intelligence.
Correct. And what the reality is AI is going to make a big impact. And I think that the people who don't start looking at AI and trying to understand it, are going to be left behind, because what's going to happen is AI is going to be able to replicate us. And what we need to learn is to how to talk to it. So I'm really being focused in AI right now. I'll tell you, I have mixed beliefs, right? We've all seen Terminator. We've all seen Skynet.
Yeah.
Do I think that that's possible? I do. Do I think that I'm going to live in fear that it's going to? No, because again, it goes back to that control the controllables. I can't control what's going to happen to the world, right? I can't control that. I can just control what's around me and who I affect. So my thought process is until hopefully that day never comes, but even if it does, I'm going to live my life with the feeling that it's not going to, but it could.
We could always join the resistance.
Right. Exactly, right?
You'll be on your, I'll get a vehicle. We'll be driving around the country, keeping StarNet in touch with each other. The Skynet's after us. Uh-oh, don't go to Colorado today. The robots are all over the ground.
I'm telling you, closer to reality.
So interesting, we talked about the tedium of doing the numbers. I'm picturing artificial intelligence taking the tedium out of the numbers and allowing the sifting to be done in a very elegant manner. The problem is past electronic methods like auto dialers, if you can remember what those are like, bulk email, all the types of advertising becoming increasingly ineffective because we're blasted with so much of it, we just ignore all of it. But sophisticated artificial intelligence can specialize to a particular person so they don't feel like they got the shotgun blast to anyone on the planet that might move, and that someone actually reached out to them. And then at the moment that you have their attention, to be able to then have you or me or your staff get into a personal relationship with this person to find out, do we have a solution? Can we really help them? Is what we do good for them? And then you get out of the idea of selling somebody something. Really, you're just consulting to find out if what you're offering is a good value for them. And if it is, and they see that, you move forward, and then you let the AI do the sifting again. Might be a bit naive because I'm not a technologist, but that's what I am interested in doing with AI. Have it help me find the right people to meet.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is people are looking at this AI and they're looking at Chat GPT and they're looking at Auto GPT and they're looking at it as a source of pretty much being able to be lazy, where it's like, hey, I can just not do this work and have this AI do it for me. And I think they're going to miss out on a really big piece of this. And what you just mentioned is it's not about having it take over your work. It's helping you be more efficient in your work and add that human touch. And you made a huge point, and it's probably the biggest point with AI is you have to have a human touch. Having a computer talk to someone from beginning to end of a sales process is probably not going to get the results that you need. You have to put yourself in somewhere in that process, and I think that human interaction coupled with AI technology is going to be the biggest.
Think how frustrating it is when you call a large company and get caught in their telephone tree. And you're answering the questions, pushing the buttons. You wait, you wait, you wait. You have a problem that's really irritating you. You're trying to solve. You finally get to what you think is the right person. They say, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is the wrong department." Boom, you go back into the telephone tree. So what you and I are discussing is that electronic tool is inefficient. I would think that if AI was put with that, you could give people much better service as it gets more sophisticated, probably solve a lot of problems at the AI level, which would make that they don't really care if they talk to a person. They care, did I solve my problem easily? And then when it gets beyond that, then you talk to me or you or who's ever on the problem solving end, and they say, "Oh, okay, Dave, I see what you need here. Let me pull this together." Or even better, what's a number I can reach you at? This is probably going to take me a few hours to get to the bottom of it. Do you want me to text you? Now, all of a sudden, we're not on hold for 45 minutes. In fact, have you tried to call the government? Holy smokes.
You try calling the IRS. It's a lot of fun.
I had a friend that didn't know the PIN number to file their tax return. And they called the IRS and they said, "Well, we can't give you a PIN number." So they wrote them a letter to ask if they get their PIN number. "I'm sorry, we can't give you your PIN number." So the magic PIN number that somehow was issued some years ago, they can't find it. No one can tell it to them. They'll never be able to file their tax return online again. How is that way? It seems ridiculous, right? You should be able to give somebody at some level enough information so they'd say, "Oh, it is you. We're going to mail you your number to the address," or whatever. But that doesn't exist.
I fully believe that's on purpose.
It's unbelievable.
With all the technology, and we have an open source AI technology. That means the government had it 10 years prior. There's no reason that they are the way they are right now, other than to cause more, um, really make us have to jump through hoops to get to the answer and hopefully give up. I think that they want us to give up so that they can do what they need to do. Like, oh, hey, you didn't pay your taxes. Well, I called you 20 times. Well, you didn't see that.
Yeah,
And
well, I
it's like,
think what I've most people just want to do a good job and go home at night to be with their family. Most people, and if they're working in a system that's broken, there's nothing they can do at their level to change that. And they're meeting exasperated, angry people all day long. Now, I don't know about you, but if I did 30 sales calls a day and all 30 of them were angry at me, I'd probably wear down a lot sooner than if every once in a while I got one that said, "Hey, I just called to say you did a great job." That doesn't happen with those people, right?
nope.
So in the process of how you think, I see how you had an idea of what you wanted to do, police officer, and that didn't really turn out to be what you thought it was. So you moved on with pain in the background this whole time. You moved on to some in-between stuff, and then AFLAC. You stayed at AFLAC and learned a lot while you were there, maybe stayed longer than the learning that you had already gotten. You got the learning, let's say, in 2 years, and you didn't learn that much more the following years, but you got paid better, I guess, for doing the same thing. It just wasn't fulfilling. And then you went into helping people of moderate income. That was more fulfilling, paid better. What caused you to move on from that to ERC?
What caused me to move on from insurance to ERC was that, especially in South Carolina, for the listeners here, there's a different type of sales approach. There's this, it's not, I want to, fake's not the right word. People are so nice in the South that they don't want to tell you no to your face. So what they'll do is they'll continue this game of, oh yeah, let me go talk to them. I'll make sure I let them know. Let me get to them. And they never do, right? Because they just didn't want to have that interaction to tell you no.
Right.
So it causes a lot of just running around in circles. And I started seeing me running around in circles for years and years and years. But when I became a manager about 2 years in, I started really understanding that it's not just me that had to run in circles. It's all of us that are continuously running in circles. So I kept trying to fix it, make it better. And to a degree I did. But I think I got to a point where I was a little bit worn down. I was a little worn down with how many people I've been talking to for years that still are not moving forward. And I think I got stressed. And I think I got to a point where a lot was on my shoulders at the brokerage that I was building. I actually was building a brokerage with a partner of mine at the time. And I think the building caused so much stress in that amount of time, it was about a year, that I was just like, I don't know if I can like mentally go through this anymore. And I didn't have another option until that call came in with the ERC, until I started building that relationship with John. And then I just had a bad day. I was talking to a friend, and the friend, who happened to be one of the owners of this company, lent out his hand and said, hey, listen, come work for me, and this is what can happen. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But I also saw the potential while working with them for that 6 to 8 months before I went on full time. So I got to see the numbers. I got to see, the impact on these businesses. I mean, I've helped companies get a total of $14 million in total from just my efforts, which is incredible to feel.
I mean, technically, it's free money. It's money that it's taxes they spent that they can recover because of this program. So you're coming to them and saying, I don't know, but maybe. Let's take a look. It costs you nothing for us to look. We don't get paid till you get paid, but we can worry about that. And you can even take it a step further and say, and if you decide just to open the door because I treated you well to some of your friends that have businesses, well, then maybe we'll give you a referral fee too, but one step at a time. So everyone helps everyone on a piece of something that is, we'll call it free. Technically, you paid, you're just getting it back. So you like that feeling. Do you get the runaround in this business now, just like you did in insurance?
It's funny, when it first came out, it was too good to be true. The program was way too good to be true. It was too good to be true to me as well. I was thinking, there's no way these
Must be a
companies,
scam or something.
it's got to be, right? I was thinking, there's no way. So I went to Congress.gov, I went to the website, and I read the entire programs just from the ERC pages. I'll tell you, it is very complicated to read anything from Congress, because you have to click to here to go back to one point that they make a point, and it's just going in circles there. But anyway, long story short, I actually learned it truly was the program that they said that they were selling, and I had to get involved. Once I read it and understood it, that wall kind of just got broken down. Well, I don't think it's too good to be true anymore. I need to teach these people out here, these clients, that it's not as well.
You were on a mission. You were on a mission to help people understand.
Because another thing is, this program is going to end in 2025, and actually half of it in 2024. Well, imagine if I knew all these people who are clients of mine and become friends over the years, and I didn't help them get this program, and then they never got it. So then 2026 comes around and they never got that money. They could have got 500 grand, 100 grand, $1 million. I got a company $8 million. I can't imagine not telling those people this opportunity. That would be on me to not do that. Now, of course, obviously, I am getting paid to do this, but at the same time, this is truly helping companies like.
Well, and think about that. So if you think about getting compensated, that's not unreasonable. We have to make a living doing something, right? We have to make a living. And setting aside how much you think you need to make or want to make, set that aside for a moment. If you can't make a living doing something helping people, well, then you're going to have to make a living doing something else and have less time to help people. So if you can get the two of them together, that's magic.
Magic. And I'll tell you, even at the lower scale, AFLAC was that for me for a while. I got to see the impact that it made on people's lives. And then health insurance, same thing. And then ERC. So all of these are kind of the same thing. I got to see the help in real time. I got to understand how this really did benefit someone. When someone called me because they had a heart attack, or someone in their family died. I mean, those are the worst calls ever. But imagine if they didn't have any help. Imagine if they didn't have that life insurance policy that I just happened to walk in that door and sell them because I knew it was the best for them. And one of the things that I'll tell anybody in sales, sell from a point of putting yourself in that person's shoes. And you'll notice that maybe the first year, maybe the first 3 years are not going to be as lucrative as they could have been if you were to just sell. But I'll tell you, the feeling that you have, that everyone feels that you truly have their back, is so much more important than the money that is involved. And also, on top of that, back to referrals, like you've explained a few times, that's a huge part of business that I didn't tap into early on that I wish I did. Referrals are so important in sales. It can blow your business up by getting referrals. If you leave that out of your business model, you are going to be much slower than if you were to have those referrals. So I guess the point is sell from a point of, if I were you, would I do it? And I would talk people out of way more policies than I ever talked them into, because I understood, like, man, you're only making $15 an hour. You probably don't need 3 products. I mean, let's figure out what's most important and what's most likely to happen. Anything can happen, but let's try to make it more affordable for you and try to really understand your situation, rather than just be like, here are their top 3 products. You should buy these because they're our top 3. I like.
Plus, you get retention. If you give something to somebody that actually helps them mitigate their problem and they can justify it in their budget, then they don't have a car breakdown and all of a sudden they cancel this because it's really more than their budget could bear.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
So it sounds like you started out, I guess, in the police officer business. You don't really do the numbers. You're just out wandering through the street and people need help or whatever the case would be, and you help them if you possibly can. And then as you went into the AFLAC business, you did the numbers. That's a valuable lesson for anyone to learn. And of course, we mentioned that our belief is that proper use of AI will make doing the numbers much more enjoyable, and you'll spend more of your time talking to the people that the numbers sifted than you are doing the sifting yourself. So it's like you got a steam shovel doing the digging, but when you get down to finding a person, you got to put the steam shovel aside and talk to them. Otherwise, they'll blow you off, I guess is what we would say. And then you went on to ERC, which probably pays more per transaction. Have you noticed whether the numbers are similar? Is it still the 30 to get the couple to get the one? Is it still like that, or do you pay attention anymore?
It's bad that I don't pay attention because I should, right? I should pay attention to those numbers. What I really did was is I just looked at all the people that I knew. I didn't really think about the cold calling aspect as much. I thought about who do I know? And I started really just making sure everyone was aware of the program, which ended up helping pay me. I
So,
wasn't,
so
you know,
if we, so you already did the numbers, see? So you already built relationships, which are like a base for referrals. You already had trust. You already did 30 to get the 3 to get the 1 to get the whatever. And so in that population were people that already trusted you. And you said, hey, I've got something because they trusted you to say, oh, what is it? It's this. Let me take a look and see if it can help you. So you'd already invested. So this lifetime that you've built of serving people have built an asset base where you could go back and have trust. So they didn't need to go through it's too good to be true because you wouldn't have brought it to them if it was a scam.
yep, exactly, exactly. And that's the biggest piece. I'm not trying to be the guy with the trench coat that has everything that he can offer you. What instead I'm trying to understand is there's so many products out here. What do I want to believe in? What product do I truly believe in? And again, AFLAC was that for me. I believed in it. And then health insurance was that for me. And I believed in that because when I was on my own and had to have health insurance, I got this back problem. Anything can happen at any moment. I gotta have health insurance because I could have that $100,000 bill someday. So like I always look at the product being, I don't know, just kind of an extension of what I would want, right? Like I want the product I would buy or I could see useful so that I can help other people feel that same way. I don't want to just sell things just to sell things. And I think a lot of people get into sales because they hear money and they just want to sell something. I think you really need to look at it like what product is going to change someone's life and what can I get behind and can that afford can that pay my salary? Can I actually live off that? And if I can, I'm going to run with it. And that's kind of what I've done is running with things that are going to help people, just trying to find the people who trust me because the biggest thing is when I walked into a door for AFLAC, I shouldn't expect anyone to take a meeting the first day. Why should they take? I'm a random guy that walked in their business.
Right.
How many random people have walked in their business selling something. So I think that the reality is you got to change the mindset of that. Well, they should want to buy our product. Show them that they need that product and learn how to actually be there. Right. One of the biggest things that I learned my first approach I ever made in AFLAC, which is a really cool story, is I made this approach. I knocked on this door and it was a home healthcare business. And she just said, hey, the owner's not here. I said, can I get the owner's name? Yeah, her name's Jackie. Can I get your phone number? Nah, I don't give that out. I was like, okay, well, I'll come back. I came back, and I went back like a total of 12 times. On the 12, and I'll tell people, doesn't mean go to every place 12 times. There's some writing on the walls a lot of times where you need to just step back a second and realize, okay, this may not be the one. But for whatever reason, I was just learning. It was the first one. I went in that 12th time. The lady, the gatekeeper was there and she said, oh, you're back. And I was like, hey, how you doing? And, just kind of being happy, whatever. And I was like, look, I really want to get in touch with Jackie. Is there any way you can help me? She said, all right, hold on a second. She gets a sticky note. She writes Jackie's name and she writes Jackie's cell phone number. She looks at me and she says, the only reason I'm giving this to you is because you were so persistent. And that ended up being a client. And that, I think that just made me realize that persistence is key. I think that we just get so caught up in like everyone wants to be a millionaire. Everyone wants to, it'll be so easy to sell products. It's not. You need to be persistent with these people, and they need to gain your trust for it to be a good relationship. And I think that you'll have way more of an impact with the clients that you've been trying to reach 10 times than the one that took the meeting on the first meeting because you didn't really earn that much. You earned it on that one call, but I think earning the persistence is what's really going to bring the results and
So
trust.
since we can't be persistent with everyone, it wouldn't be
No,
very efficient. So then you need some kind of intuitive sense that this is one worth pursuing. You can't explain why. I mean, I guess you could, but you just get a feeling, right? You just get a feeling. And the problem you had with the insurance business, and maybe a little bit with AFLAC, but that was more of a fewer calls generally, is that how do I know whether I should call on this person again or not? When is enough enough? Is it a number? But what is it? And that's where the confusion is. And that's where people get lost because you grow disheartened. And if you believe it's just all like a lottery and you have to draw the lottery number, and if you make enough calls, by the luck of the draw, you'll get someone that wants a cookie the day that you're there. It just happens to be timing and opportunity. So if if you can help develop your intuition, there's ways that can be done. In fact, I just started yesterday going through the Silva program, which was probably back in the 40s and 50s is when it was started. And millions of people went through it, got tremendous results. But like many things, in fact, I asked somebody I was at lunch with, I said, I don't get it. I mean, this looks powerful. It looks like it's changed multiple millions of people's lives. And it just went out of favor. It's just not popular anymore. People decided to stop changing their lives. So I thought, well, let's go back to this basic. And I'm working through that right now. The reason I brought it up is they have a part in there about building your intuition. And the guy that's from Mind Valley, Vishen, said that he developed his intuition early with the course. So when he was doing cold calling through the yellow pages, and having a low success rate, he started using intuition to decide which attorneys, which he was selling software to, he should call. And his sales went up. And he kept doing it. His sales went higher. And he kept doing it. Now, no one was doing it but him. And he was studying this method of intuition through the Silva course. His boss said, "How are you doing this?" He said, "Well, I've learned how to do it through intuition." He said, "That's hogwash. It doesn't work." And he just kept climbing up. And now he has the largest personal development company on the face of the planet with millions and millions of people. Point of the story is, like I said about Dispenza, and what I share with people, hey, I found this. Maybe you'd like to look into it. I'm here to open a door for someone to make their life more meaningful and more worthwhile. Maybe for you, maybe your back can be fixed through using the process. I don't know. Find out. Would it be worth it leaving that pain behind? Or is you gotten so accustomed to being in pain that you say, you know what? I just have kind of got used to this pain. I'm not letting go of it. I'm just going to keep it for the rest of my life.
I'm so okay getting rid of it.
so
Right.
Today has been delightful. Now think of this. We met by accident of a sales call. You reached out to me. I'm in the financial services business. We do consulting at my company for non-bank financing. So someone that hasn't been able to get financed at the bank, we have programs for them. And I won't go through the sales pitch and why that makes sense or not. But you and I met by way of that. We may end up doing some ERC business together. We're exploring that at this time. So think of all the years that led up to us meeting today and doing this, and think of what you would share with our audience so that their life might be a fulfilling adventure, since the future is filled with possibilities. Some people see it as the world is, listen to the news. The world is coming to an end. The whole planet will explode. We'll all die from some disease. The robots will come in and capture us all. I hear so much of it. Sometimes I have to just shut off a news story on YouTube because I'm listening to the bend of where their thinking is. And I think, I'm not going there with that guy. It's not that I'm ignoring information at large. I just don't want to have a bend come to me that is, we're doomed, right? I don't want that. So what would you like to share with our audience that you think would be something not complicated, but so simple that it's just as easy not to do, but it will transform their life if they'll just start doing it today?
I would say once you reach a certain age, you need to unlearn, don't talk to strangers. I think that our whole life growing up, we're taught not to talk to strangers for obvious reasons.
Right.
But I think once you get into your adult life, the biggest thing that has propelled me in my life is meeting people. Every step that I've taken is because I met somebody that brought me there. From Joe Calarco at AFLAC to Andrew Rena at the brokerage, to John Gentili at ERC Today. I mean, every step that I've had, and now I have Chris, and I have all these people that I'm working with, all because I talked to somebody, I met someone, I created a relationship. This is the old adage, right? It's not about what you know, it's about who you know, and I cannot stress that enough. I would say it's not that it's not. It's just more important who you know than it is what you know. It's very important what you know, but if you're doing it alone, it's going to take you a long time to do it. If you're doing it with others, you're going to propel your business and your personal life and your relationships. I think life is about relationships. And I think that a lot of us try to stay alone because of all the things outside that are trying to kill us. And we don't realize that when you're not sharing life with somebody else or a group of people, you're not really living it. So that would be my advice is to do that. And the other thing that kind of goes along with it is also live in the moment. A guy named Alex Hermosi, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, a very popular entrepreneur these days. He's all over TikTok, big guy, beard, super entrepreneur, billionaire at this point, or pretty close to it. And one of the things that he said was, when I was in my 20s, all I wanted to be was a millionaire. And when I was a millionaire, all I wanted to be was in my 20s. And I think that's a very powerful statement that says that you got to live in the moment and live your life now, because we're always trying to live in the future, or always live in the past. And a lot of times we don't live in the moment. And this was a perfect opportunity for me to live in the moment and to learn living in the moment. And I would say also do things you're afraid of. I was afraid of this. I mean, I was afraid of, really how crazy this is. I mean, this isn't a normal thing to do. And it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me.
So this has been a wonderful show. Always on these shows, I'm delightfully surprised. I always learn something, always. I'd like to encourage our audience to give us a thumbs up, subscribe. We'll keep bringing shows down. Yeah, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And then if you want to be on the show, reach out to me. I'm David at First Fusion Capital Funding, all spelled out, .com. And I would love to have other guests. If you know of someone, please recommend them. But most importantly, share this information with others. That's what we're here for. That was the point of this show today. The whole channel is the Human Potential Channel. And I just want to bring ideas that we share with one another. And as you're doing the numbers, meeting people, have no vested interest in the outcome. Some people won't be receptive. Some may be unpleasant. I don't know. They're having a bad day. But every once in a while, if you do the numbers, you meet someone, you say, hey, I'm glad I met this person. And you don't have to make money from doing that, right? How often have you been with someone having a cup of coffee and you get done, you had a great time, you said, the problem was I didn't really get paid for that. I've never done that when I've enjoyed someone. Have you?
No. I'd say 99% of the people I've met, I haven't made a dime from, and I love them dearly. So yeah, I agree.
The numbers will take care of themselves. So thank you so very much. Enjoy your journey. Keep us posted. Look up Joe Dispenza. See what he's got to say about the healing he did for himself. I think you'll be impressed. Your mind may be in a place where we'll do a show in the future and you'll say, oh, by the way, I'm friends with Joe Dispenza now. So you'll tell me I'm friends with him now. And we're touring the country. He helped me and I help other people. And he's got a great philosophy on life, much like yours. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it very much.